Do you support the right of a woman who is just seconds away from birthing a healthy child to have an abortion?
I think that the question that you're asking does not realistically reflect abortion care.
In that scenario, would you support her right to abort that child?
I won't entertain theoreticals.
It's not a theoretical, ma'am. You're a medical doctor.
I am a medical doctor, and that has never happened.
Never happened in your practice, ma'am, but it happens. How about if a child is halfway out of the birth canal? Is an abortion permissible then?
Can you repeat your question?
If a child is halfway delivered out of the birth canal, is it permissible to have an abortion? Would you support the right for an abortion then?
I can't even fathom that ever.
I'm not asking you if you can fathom it. If it occurred, would you support that abortion or not? That's unrestricted abortion, right?
That's a question that I can't imagine. Just like you probably can't imagine what you would do if your daughter was raped.
If you found that line of questioning to be ridiculous, as Brett would say, hold on to your butts, because we're about to hear from more of these Republican lawmakers during an incredibly important hearing on abortion access. Now, this was the House Judiciary Committee, and the doctor who was being grilled on a theoretical that isn't at all part of reality is Dr. Yashica Robinson. Now, Congressman Mike Johnson from Louisiana is the one who decided to continue the GOP trend of fear-mongering about late-stage abortions and partial birth abortions. And I think we need to cut through the BS on that topic before we get to the rest of what happened during this hearing. Because the fact of the matter is, partial birth abortions for perfectly healthy babies, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, which is why the doctor there was confused by the line of questioning overall. Why are you asking me about something that doesn't happen? And the reason why it doesn't happen is because there is a literal federal ban on it happening. So let's talk about partial birth abortions, okay? The idea that a woman gets pregnant and decides to carry a fetus for 9 months, and then as she's about to deliver, that's when she decides, after going through an uncomfortable and terrible pregnancy for 9 months, she decides, no, now I'm gonna make a decision as I'm delivering that I want to abort the baby. And that doesn't happen. Okay, I want these guys who don't know what it's like to be a woman and don't know what it's like to carry a fetus for 9 months to understand that it doesn't happen. No woman in the country, in the world, is deciding like, I could have had that abortion in the first trimester. I could have even had it in the second trimester, depending on what state I'm in. But I'm gonna go ahead and carry this baby for 9 months. It's uncomfortable. It changes my body in some cases, terrible ways. But I'm gonna wait until I'm about to deliver, and then I'm gonna order an abortion. How ridiculous is it? So let's talk about the laws. And I'm talking about federal laws. Because back in 2003, Congress, meaning on a federal level, passed a law banning partial birth abortions. Okay, partial birth abortions have been banned. And the Supreme Court actually upheld that ban in 2007. Let me give you the details. And there are exceptions to partial birth abortion bans. That makes sense to save lives. So let me give you the details. Again, this is in 2007. The 9-member US Supreme Court ruled 5-4 last week, again, this is in 2007, to ban the partial birth abortion procedure in the United States, okay? So the court upheld a federal law banning the procedure that was passed by Congress in 2003. The law had been challenged in the courts for lacking an exception to protect women's health, not just their lives. So let's understand what happened with partial birth abortion. It's fine to say I'm against partial birth abortion when we're talking about a healthy pregnancy, a healthy mother, no medical complications, nothing, right? That makes sense. Of course, what person would want to abort a baby at that late stage, a healthy baby, when the mother's life is not at risk? That doesn't happen, there's a ban. However, there are rare cases in which the woman's life is in danger, or the fetus, or her life or her health is in danger, or the fetus, it might be a stillborn, who knows what the situation is. But to say that There are healthy pregnancies in this country that are aborted at the very last minute as the baby is being delivered is a lie. They are lying to you. You wanna know why they're lying to you? Because it's what they do on a regular basis, number one. But number two, they understand that an embryo, that a zygote, that a non-viable fetus is not the same as an actual baby. Okay, a viable baby is a life that can survive outside of the mother's womb. Okay, very different, in my opinion, from an embryo or a zygote or a non-viable fetus. And so what do Republicans do? They want to fearmonger. They want to paint a picture to make it appear as though like an infant is being murdered right after it gets delivered or as it's being delivered. That doesn't happen. So let's get to some specific numbers here. When do abortions tend to happen? This is according to the Centers for Disease Control. The majority of abortions in 2019 took place early in gestation. In fact, 92.7% of abortions were performed at less, like when the woman was at less than 13 weeks gestation, okay? A smaller number of abortions, only 6.2%, were performed at 14 to 20 weeks gestation. And even fewer, meaning about 1% or less than 1%, were performed at 21 weeks gestation. And when it does happen that late in a pregnancy, it's because there is danger involved in carrying that pregnancy out, meaning that the woman's life is in danger, or there are serious abnormalities with the fetus, meaning that it is not likely to survive outside the womb. But according to the GOP, if you're likely to have a stillborn, or if you're likely to give birth to a fetus that is not likely to survive for much longer, it doesn't matter, you still have to carry it out. It ain't up to you, it's up to guys like Congressman Mike Johnson. And if you thought his line of questioning was ridiculous and ignorant, intentionally so, by the way, he wasn't the only Republican lawmaker. Get a load of this compilation of dudes, bunch of right-wing dweebs who took this hearing as an opportunity to push other culture war narratives or made it abundantly clear that they don't understand a woman's anatomy. Let's watch.
What's a woman? Can you answer the question, what's a woman?
I'm a woman.
I'm just saying, so you give me an example of a woman, you say that you are a woman. Otherwise, can you tell me what a woman is?
Yes, I'm telling you, I'm a woman.
Is that as comprehensive a definition as you can give me?
My body, my choice. The baby is not the body of the woman that it's inside of. Abortion care, who's being taken care of there?
Well, are you familiar with premature babies, preemies?
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
If a child is halfway delivered out of the birth canal, would you support the right for an abortion then?
What do you say a woman is?
I believe that everyone can identify for themselves.
Do you believe then that men can become pregnant and have abortions?
Birth control, it's actually a consequence of the lack of birth control. Planned Parenthood, it's the lack of planning.
Those guys get to make decisions about what I do with my body. And they come from the political party that incessantly tells us that they are for freedom and liberty. They come from the same political party that turned coronavirus into a needless culture war issue, with masks serving as the prominent symbol of that culture war. 1 million Americans died so far during the coronavirus pandemic. You think that that was necessary, that 1 million Americans needed to die? You don't think that possibly our Republican lawmakers standing in the way, serving as a massive obstacle in doing the right thing to protect actual human lives during the pandemic was something that maybe we should think about, something we should consider? These are not pro-life people. These are people who have no problem cutting food stamps that children living in poverty rely on for sustenance. These are Republicans that have no problem deregulating companies to the point where, a corporation like Abbott, for instance, which makes Similac and other baby formula, Doesn't have to worry about the regulations necessary to prevent bacteria from getting into baby formula. I mean, these are lawmakers who think you should just let the market decide, even if the market decides that profits are more important than people. Deregulation is great, even if it means that your food and your water is poisoned, which could lead to severe illness and death. They don't care about you. They don't care about lives. They've proven it over and over and over again. And what's even more frustrating about this whole situation is that these guys are idiots. That they don't understand anything about what it means to be a parent, what it means to be a mother, what it means to be a pregnant woman, what it means to be a mother who's living in poverty and has absolutely no support from her government in helping to raise her child so her child, which they purport to care so much about, can live a happy, healthy life. That is the reality in America. Abortion is a culture war issue specifically because it is a tool that's utilized by the GOP to accumulate political power and to control the lives of women. That is it. Because the fact of the matter is, you are free to believe whatever the hell you want to believe about a fetus. And if you believe that a zygote, embryo, fetus, whatever it is the same as a living, breathing, independent human life, great. Don't have an abortion. But that is your belief. It is not based in science. We're talking about actual lives that are viable outside the womb, right? Zygote, not viable outside the womb. Fertilized egg is not the same as an actual baby that's viable outside the womb. But if you think it is, if you want to ignore all of that, you want to ignore the science, you get to make the decision over your own body in a perfect world. But when it becomes a culture war issue that's meant to accumulate power for a political group or a political party, you don't get to make that decision because it's not about common sense. It's not about saving human lives. Again, it's just about power and control. I mean, we're about to have laws that are far more draconian than some of the most awful countries toward women, honestly. Like some of these Latin American countries that do have far more theocratic nonsense injected into their politics, they're gonna have looser abortion regulations than the United States will. And this is the country that's supposed to be about liberty and freedom. Give me a break. It's absolute garbage.